Well, hey there. Good morning, fellow gardeners and horticultural enthusiasts. We are back. Yes, Facebook Live, Biz Talk Radio. I'm Brian Main. Tiger Palafox. This is Garden America. Tiger has an empty chair to his left because John is spending the weekend with the California Coastal Rose Society. It's their big auction, Tiger, which in years past has taken place in November. And then this year, John said, oh, by the way, it's happening in May, which caught you and I by surprise. We can't make it this year, so John's on his own.
Yeah, John's on his own, but they are pairing it with the Rose Show.
Absolutely,
so,
yes.
Which, is amazing to be able to kind of have the finished roses there along with the roses that they're auctioning off.
And I think a few years ago when we did the auction, they had the Rose Show at the same time as well at the different location.
Yeah, that was, I feel like the, United States Rose Show or something. It was a big Rose show. It was a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can bid online. You can go to their website, CaliforniaCoastalRoseShow.com. And, boy, it's going to be a big weekend for John. And you and I doing solo today, but we have two interesting guests. Yeah. This is a little different twist, and I think it's a topic that I never thought of it. I never thought you had to really be in shape to garden.
Really? I've always felt gardening and being in shape were kind of hand in hand, and I always felt,
I guess so. Yeah.
And I always felt like people didn't always know. I think one of the reasons why people don't garden sometimes is because they feel they're not in shape or it's difficult for them. So we're gonna have Madeline and Jeff from the PBS program GardenFit.
GardenFit, right. Now, they do a TV show, right?
Yeah, it's a TV show on PBS. And we're going to have them, and we're going to be talking about staying fit and gardening. And Madeline is the gardener. Right. So she's the one that's going to be talking about the different plants.
Interesting shot you've got right there, Tiger. That's a very...
What is it?
It's a shot of the this board right here, AM 760.
Oh. That's weird.
Didn't mean to interrupt you, but Tiger does it all. Now. Tiger, he does the setup, the video, the different shots. It does that one right there. Can you see it?
There it is. Now I got it. But Madeline and Jeff are going to be joining us. We're going to be talking about gardening.
Jeff is the
fitness expert.
Right.
So,
okay.
and more than a fitness expert, he knows your body. So, I think one of the biggest problems that people will have with gardening is they hurt themselves. They pull their back. They have elbow issues. They have knee issues. Well, Jeff is the kind of person that can tell you, well, this is what you're doing wrong, and this is how to avoid it or how to take care of it or rehab it and make it better so you don't do it again.
Yeah, when I said I didn't really put gardening and being in shape together, and then I started thinking about it, well, yeah, because we're bending, we're kneeling, we're doing a lot of things that although it's not considered like a heavy physical exercise over time, just bending and doing these things, you do get sore. And I consider myself in pretty good shape, but the next day sometimes I get up and I'm like, why am I so sore? Oh, yeah, I watered, I trimmed, I did a lot of bending over. So I would imagine these are a lot of stretching exercises and things you can do to help mitigate that.
Yeah, and one of the, I come from nursery and then landscaping background. And when I have a new hire, even when they're physically fit people, I say, hey, this is a physical job. It's a toll.
And you got young guys working for you.
Oh, yeah. And, they just kind of, I'm fit. I can do things and I can do this. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that, if I asked you to lift something, you can lift it. But I go, this is different. And the example I use is, for 8 hours, you're going to be working and you're going to have a pruner in your hands and you're going to be trimming things. And you're going to do that, a few days a week. Your hand is going to get a cramp.
Yeah.
Until you build up that muscle, until you build that muscle memory up for your hand to develop the skill to not be so tired of using those pruners for the whole day.
Yeah, you can be in shape, and that when you say I'm in shape, well, what does that mean? But we're talking about, like you said, using muscles that you haven't been used to using.
Yeah.
It's all new. Yeah. So, of course, the muscle's going to say, hey, what are you doing? I was having a nice rest here for the past how many years, and now you want to start using me.
Yeah.
So you have to be in shape. And it's interesting that he's got that program, Jeff, in terms of, what he may teach as far as, gardening things to do to stay in shape, maybe different than he's teaching something else.
Right, exactly. But then, it's also paired with the wonderful background of being on a beautiful property or a farm or a ranch or an orchard where, they're going to people's livelihoods sometimes. And sometimes they're going to people's homes where, They're interacting with the homeowner that just has a beautiful garden that they've been taking care of, for years and years and years. But sometimes they're going to a farm or an orchard where this is the people's jobs, and their livelihood is based also on their health to be able to stay in shape and do what they do, which sometimes is even more of a physical toll.
Right, and we'll be talking to them from New York. So again, once we have them on the air with us, any questions, comments, obviously feel free to chat back and forth and ask, various things, because I think this is a topic that's going to hit everybody. It's not just a certain set of, people. It's everybody who does like to garden.
That shot is back.
Yeah, the shot keeps coming back, doesn't it? I just noticed that.
I'm going to throw that out there right now. Okay.
Just get rid of it, right?
I did. Yeah.
I
don't know what's going on with I reset it. I don't know what happened.
Because we have you and I, and we've got the wide shot, right?
That's all we need.
So here's Lenore says, how funny, for the first time, my right arm is killing me. The top of my right arm had to stop for a couple of days. So maybe this is something we're going to be talking about today, Lenore, how to mitigate that and help so it's not so painful, or maybe get rid of the pain altogether.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so Dana says, good morning, Lenore. Rick is with us. San Jose is with us. Tucson's in the house. We're off to a great start, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the little animals who are gathered around the Facebook Live and radio page. You got the quote of the week?
I do have the quote of the week. I'm ready to go. All right. Gardening simply does not allow one to be mentally old because too many hopes and dreams are yet to be realized.
That's a great quote.
Alan Armitage. So it doesn't allow one to be mentally old. So
no, you have to stay young.
Have to stay mentally young to be able to garden.
Right.
Because that, there's too many, when you're walking through your property, or when you're walking through your patio or your garden, there's too many things you want when you're going through there. I was cutting flowers. We have some flowers. I'll put them on the shot right now. The orange flowers on the right are the orange juice, and then the pink flower on the left is Peggy Martin.
The Peggy Martin rose, which I think is one of your favorites, right?
Oh, yeah. It's amazing.
That's the one that survived Katrina underwater, saltwater for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Exactly. So I took some rose cuttings this morning because I wanted to bring some roses in since John's at the rose auction, and they're in bloom. And as I'm walking through, you can't help but kind of be like, I got to do that, or I want to plant this tree here, or I want to put this bush there. And it just keeps you always moving forward, right, with the garden.
Absolutely. I mean, every year's different. Even though I've got a small patio garden and a lot of plants, outside the front door down the walkway, it changes. I go out there, I look, I go, I'm going to move this over here. I had this plant here for the past couple of years just to kind of give it a fresh look and just to keep things, looking as new as possible.
Yeah.
It's so funny. A lot of people, we have people upstairs, they walk back and forth, and I don't really even think they notice what I've set up. It's peripheral vision.
Yeah.
And I go out there with a different set of eyes, and I'm looking at every little thing, and God, look how nice that plant looks, and that palm over there, and hibiscus is in bloom. I'm really soaking it in, and I think this is true for a lot of people in life. We kind of walk by things. I guess that's where Stop and Smell the Roses came from.
Definitely, right? Just take that moment, enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
Because, and it's funny because I'm also not a flower clipper. I kind of leave them in the garden for the most part. So today when I was out there looking for flowers, I was like, I'm like, why don't I? I mean, if I don't clip them and bring them, who sees them? Because they're just there. I'm the only one in my backyard.
Right. It's interesting because I've got a lot of roses lined up on the walkway, and this is the same walkway where the people upstairs, they walk by. And I'll see some roses blooming, and I'll think, I want to cut those and bring them in the house. I think, well, no, wait a minute. I want to leave them out there for a little while because it's part of the beauty of the area.
Yeah.
So I will wait until the rose probably has maybe 3 or 4 days left, and then I'll trim it then, bring it in the house, put it in a vase.
There you go.
Because I still want it outside, but I also want to enjoy it inside as well.
That's good. And if you see it on a regular, my property is a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, you got bigger property
there.
Right. You have to go back there.
It's kind of like one of those things. Like if a tree falls in the forest, does anybody hear it?
Yeah, you're the only one's going to hear it at your place.
Exactly. Yeah, so I have to bring them up. I have to share them. And I need to work harder on doing that, I feel, because I have a lot of fun stuff in there that I would like to share more with.
And sometimes
with more people.
Yes. And sometimes you start taking it for granted.
Yes.
Just what I have back there. And that's why it's good to look at it with fresh eyes,
Mm-hmm.
here and there, because otherwise it could become drab, and you want to keep it looking nice. And I would imagine your family appreciates it, but probably not as much as you, or no?
No. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah. I mean, Janine every once in a while walks back there and goes, "Hey, we have this happen?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And she's like, "I didn't know we even had those flowers, that
See?
tree or that bush."
Right. Hey, we got to take a break. Our first segment is over. Segment 2 coming up. While you're waiting, we've got great spots, great commercials, great supporters on Biz Talk Radio. For the rest of us here on Facebook Live, going to take a short break. We're going to get a hold of our guests. It's Madeline and Jeff. Isn't that right,
Yep.
Tiger? We're going to come back. How to stay in shape gardening here on Garden America. All righty. Thank you for sitting through the break on Biz Talk Radio. Those on Facebook Live, we are ready to go. And again, questions, comments, don't be shy, don't be embarrassed. Reach out, because I think this is going to be something that a lot of us are going to be very interested in hearing. So that said, Tiger, let's take it away, as they used to say.
Yeah, so this morning we have joining us Madeline Hooper and Jeff Hughes, the co-hosts of the program GardenFit that airs on PBS all across the country. And the premise of the show is, introduce people to gardening,
Right.
Farming, orchards, but at the same time, also, how do we stay physically fit and active doing these certain tasks? Because we know that they also can take a physical toll on our bodies, but we want to keep doing it. Madeline, Jeff, good morning. How are you both doing?
Oh, great. Good morning. Thank you.
All right. So, let's start off with Madeline. Madeline, you're the gardener behind the program here for GardenFit. What's your background when it comes to gardening?
Well, actually, I've always loved gardens. And from a little girl, I was amazed by how you could put a bulb in the ground and, 6-7 months later, you get a tulip. So I think they always fascinated me. But growing up in New York City, I couldn't wait to live in the country and was lucky enough to have that life change and just wanted to get my hands in the dirt. So for the last 20 to 30 years, I've been gardening almost every day of my life, and I just love it.
Oh, that's wonderful. And now you said you're in New York. Your garden, what is your garden style that you most enjoy? Because the cool thing about the program GardenFit is that you hit everything. I mean, Southwest, cottage garden, orchard, farm.
We tried because,
right?
It's nice that you asked that question, Tiger, because everybody has their own style. And that's what's so exciting about gardening. So we loved seeing all our guest gardeners' approach to how they created their environment. Mine is really very country because there were a lot of very large maple trees here. And I just kept making a series of different gardens, a lot of perennials, of course, a vegetable garden. I have a rock garden, some water features. I kind of got a little carried away. It's a lot to maintain, but it's more of a natural style rather than a formal garden.
Excellent. And Jeff, now you come from the I don't know how to
Physically
say
fit
it.
side?
Yeah, the physically fit side, or the training side of the making people use their body correctly. Is that right, Jeff?
That's correct. Yeah.
And what is your background?
Well, I started off training people 35 years ago, and I'm certainly a much better trainer than I was then. But so over the years, the whole training world has changed. The way you approach taking care of your body, and also my whole world has changed because obviously I'm 35 years older than then. So the way I approach taking care of my body has changed, and putting all that together and all the wonderful information I've gathered from the clients I've had over the years, and ideas I've taken from they're surgeons and their physical therapists and stuff. I've just accumulated everything. I've always worked with my clients with their ailments and whoever they were already seeing professionally. And I just have put together a package of, I guess you could call it body conscious ideas that people can take and make it their own. They don't have to have a trainer to understand how to use their body correctly and to keep from injuring it. And that's really the where I come from, is the long road of understanding how to do things and get them done, and enjoy what you've done as much as your body can enjoy what you've done as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, through the years, Jeff, you mentioned your experience. I'm sure you've seen a tremendous amount of new information when it comes to the body and how it's connected, and how, this muscle is connected to this part of your body. And just because your arm hurt doesn't mean you hurt your arm. It could have been you hurt something else, and now your arm is hurting because of that reason. And
exactly, you got it.
Yeah, and so it's really amazing for people that do study body mechanics to be able to kind of say, oh, most people think, oh, my wrist hurts, and they think, oh, I did something to my wrist. It's like, well, no, let's really think about it.
Yeah.
You might have done something here, and now you're favoring your wrist, and now that's why it hurts. Jeff, it's funny. I talked with Madeline earlier this week, and one of the things, and you being in the industry, I'm sure have seen it, where there's a lot of these programs out there where people pay a lot of money, to go through boot camps, mud runs, military training, exercises to get fit, to get healthy. And so I think you and I, after the show, we have to get on the phone together, because I'm going to create a program where people can pay me, because my background, Jeff, is in landscaping and owning a nursery, where people can pay me, and I'm going to put them to work out there in the field, digging trenches, pruning, cutting, and we're going to advertise it as a way to get physically fit.
Yeah,
but they're going to do work for me, and then they're going to pay me.
It's not a new idea, Tiger. I've kidded, living upstate here, I've kidded with my clients every winter that you don't need to come into the gym. Meet me at my house, and you can shovel the snow at my house.
There you go. See?
I'll oversee it, and you'll build muscles.
Yeah, exactly. You'll lose weight. You'll build muscles. You're getting outside.
So let me ask you, Madeline and Jeff, this is Brian here. So what are the biggest mistakes people make? They just go out, they decide to garden, and then they get sore. They don't realize what they're doing. And as Tiger mentioned, somebody says, well, my elbow hurts. I don't remember doing anything, because we're always looking for that one incident where we hurt something. And maybe it's just doing physical exercise that doesn't have to be strenuous, but kind of low-key exercise. So what are some of the mistakes people make in your experience, Madeline, and Jeff, you as a trainer?
Well, I can just say in my experience, I just gardened till I dropped. And so many people, unfortunately, are enjoying weeding a bed so much that they really don't think of the shape or the use of their body. And it was because of that I actually met Jeff, and he changed my life. So he really should talk about what people should think about while they're doing their work.
Yeah, well, we could turn this into a 5-hour show. But, to just try to nail this into a couple bullets for you, mainly kind of what Madeline was just getting at. People that garden, it's just about any hobby you have, but people that garden, it's a great example. It's visual. You want to go out and you want to do something, and when you get done, you enjoy looking at what you've done. It's gorgeous. Everything's planted, everything's cut and mowed, or whatever it is you were doing. And that visual euphoria overrides any kind of ache and pain or fatigue that you have. But when you wake up the next morning, your body's going, oh, you kind of overdid it yesterday, Jeff. And so there's a couple ways you can just kind of skirt that. And one is to simply understand when you're doing something, how to use your body a little bit better. You know, if your hand's connected to your wrist is connected to your arm's connected to your shoulder, and all of that obviously is connected to your back and your torso. So if you can base everything from the larger muscle area, just like a left fielder throws the ball in to the catcher, he doesn't use his arm to do that. He uses his body torque to do that.
Hey, Jeff, I don't mean to interrupt you. We got to take a break to stay on time. Please hold on to that thought because we're talking about the various body parts and maybe how to mitigate some of the injuries. So we are talking to Madeline and Jeff, how to stay in shape while gardening. It is exercise, and a lot of people don't realize exactly, what's happening to their body from a physical standpoint as they garden. So do stay with us. Hey, questions, comments right there live on Facebook. We will take them for ourselves, Jeff and Madeline. Right now, going to take a break. Back after these messages, our nationally syndicated program, Biz Talk Radio. Do stay with us. Hey, just like that, we are back. We do appreciate you being right there supporting Garden America. Thank you for all the followers. Be sure to go to our website, gardenamerica.com. Visit our website. It really helps the show, helps our organization. Also, our YouTube page, which is Garden America Radio Show. You can see all the archive shows. You missed this show, want to hear the show again, want to hear different interviews, that's where to go. Again, that is a Garden America Radio Show on YouTube and right here on Facebook. Okay, Tiger, we had to interrupt Jeff. He was in the middle of talking about the body and maybe some ways that we can do gardening better.
Yeah, and we're chatting with Madeline Hooper and Jeff Hughes from the program GardenFit on PBS. And before the break, Jeff, you were just mentioning on how a baseball player, doesn't throw the ball with just their arm. They use their whole body to throw that ball. And
Right.
Gardening, there's a lot of things that can be similar, right?
Yeah. So the example I was using was a ball player, or even a tennis player, or golf, or whatever. Your power comes from your body, and then the finesse is in your arms and your hands. And if you can garden that way, then when you're out using a tool, let the power come from the bigger muscles, and let the finesse come from the smaller muscles. And if you abide by that, and you're not trying to get all the power out of your arm and hands, it won't. You're not going to injure it. So that's one nice tip just to be aware of and try to incorporate. It's not a black or white thing, but it's a very gray area, but you can incorporate it. And the other big tip that we've used on the show is we labeled it the county fair, where you have 3 or 4 tasks to do that day. Do one for a half hour. Set it down. Go do something different for a half hour. Set that down. Go do something different for a half hour. Set that down. And if you have 3 or 4 tasks, then start back at the original one again. And that way, it's not just this over and over redundant, repetitive work with the same joints for hours on end, where it's really not efficient because those muscles got tired 2 hours ago and you're still using them. If you had done something different and then came back when they were refreshed, what you're doing is actually more efficient. And you didn't wear the muscles out, you didn't wear the joints out, and you're going to feel better the next morning. And you're still going to have that same visual euphoria. You're going to get it done.
Yeah, definitely. And what a great tip on kind of changing it up, because Madeline, when you mentioned it, you went out to the garden and you just weeded because you couldn't stop. You saw another one and you kept going. Through doing this show and from your history in gardening, Madeline, do you have any tips for people as far as, when they are going to go work in the garden, should they have a plan? Maybe, write something down so that way they stick to it. Like Jeff had mentioned, like, here's your 3 tasks, but mix up those 3 tasks. Don't just do 1, 2, and 3. Do 1, 2, 3. Go again back with 1. What have you kind of also experienced that help people kind of stay out there in the garden?
Well, I think really just almost reiterating what Jeff has suggested, I think when I go out now, instead of thinking about one area or one chore that I have some new plants that I want to put in the ground, and they're way too many because it'll take me more than a half an hour or 45 minutes, I really almost enjoy planning, okay, here are the 3 things that I'm going to try to accomplish today in the garden. So I feel like I go out there, again, with a whole different mindfulness about I'm not going to do one thing, I'm going to do 3 things. And just thinking that way makes it even more exciting because I feel like I'm fixing more territory or beautifying another area. And it's just a fresher way to look at your approach to the actual maintenance or creation that you want to do and work on every single day.
I'm going to add one more thing to that
Uh-huh.
because I hang out with Madeline a lot, and I listen to her, and and I'm going to use a term that's really very garden oriented. Sometimes you just need to stop and smell the roses. I've heard Madeline talk sometimes, and because we do meditation and this and that and other thing, and she just reminds me that every once in a while, the whole reason for having the garden is to stop every once in a while and just relax and enjoy it. And maybe that's something else you could add to that list you just said, Madeline. Just when you're out there, don't forget why you're working so hard. Every once in a while, just stop, pull up a chair, have a glass of lemonade in the middle of the day, and take a look. And that's a great fitness tip. And it's also a good tip to just remember to enjoy your garden and don't just work at it.
I think we've got a question here, and I think you may have just answered that, so we're going to reiterate this. One of our Facebook viewers says that she's pretty good at protecting her back and other big muscles, but at times runs into problems with her wrists. Is the stop and do something else method good for protecting wrists? Sounds like exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And, Jeff, you brought up a great point on just, the reason why you are doing this work is to enjoy it. So why not incorporate that enjoyment into the actual work itself, right?
Yeah, well, we our very first pilot episode, I was working with Rennie Reynolds, and in the show, I explained to him, I take my finger and I rub it against his skin. I said, okay, so that's just kind of obnoxiously irritating, right? But it's not going to hurt anything. If I did that for an hour, it would start to get sore. If I did that for a day, it would probably get raw. And if I did that for a week, I'd rub a hole in your skin. But there was nothing wrong with rubbing my finger against his skin for a minute. And that's how if you think about that and take that into consideration with your joints and everything else, there's nothing that you're doing wrong. Sometimes it's just that you just shouldn't be doing it with that much time spent on it because it's not designed to have that much use for that long a period of time. So that's where the county fair comes in. That's where the glass of lemonade comes in. Just give it a chance to rejuvenate a little bit instead of just continuing to use it and wear it down.
Yeah. Go ahead, madam.
Just to add to that, we visited a woman who's 95 years old, young. She was just an amazing person who enjoyed her garden thoroughly every single day. And she came up with this thought, which I think Jeff and I both love, that you need a special place in your garden or anywhere where you can just go and really relax and really just, again, feel what it's like to be among nature outside and breathing fresh air. And I think that that's something that people should find when you do stop working, and you should stop working, as Jeff suggested. It would be lovely to have a place where you just love to go and feel good about what you've just done, and then enjoy what nature gives back to you for taking care of it.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, Madeline, and I'm sure, Jeff, you both touring these gardens, you notice, and I saw a few of the episodes and a few of the teasers for the upcoming episodes, and you mentioned that the woman and, the different spots in her garden where you can see where she's kind of almost designed it to take a break, right? And
Right.
I'm a bit younger, but I've been doing this for a while. And when I used to go to people's yards, and I always see these little nooks where they had a little bistro set or just a bench. And I'm always like, I wonder why they have those. Like, I mean, for me, it was like, why is it that there's all these stopping points in this yard? And, it wasn't until years later that I realized those are for them to just enjoy it. Like, they're literally just spots in their garden that they've designed where they can just sit down, look at what they've done, take a little break, be under a tree, be at a vista in their yard or something like that, and enjoy it. And now I've started incorporating those spots in my garden where I've designed portions of it to stop and take that break or have it where I can just look at it from a different perspective. So when you were touring these gardens, Madeline, what are some of the things that stood out in your eyes? Because, I mean, you've been doing it for a long time, but I'm sure you're always learning, right? You're always seeing something new.
Well, I think that's a couple of things. I love that people really wanted their gardens to reflect the inside of their homes. And so many people that love gardens have plants inside as well as outside, or they have a color scheme. Like there's some people who just love pastel colors. So the flowers that they put in their gardens have pastel colors. The other thing that I think really struck us was at a garden like at Rennie's and a few of the other places, people have traveled a lot in this country and around the world and have found these amazing artifacts, or whether it's a fountain or whether it's a special bench or a seat or a little hut. And literally, people have created gardens around treasures that they have found that mean a lot to them. Some people showed us, one woman showed us where she and her husband got married in their garden.
Oh, that's neat.
So I think that it's not just about the plants. It's really about, again, creating an environment that has things in it that make you just feel great and that you love to share with other people. You know, if somebody walks around my garden and says something about a pot that I have, I can give them a story about where I found it. So I kind of think that it's the interaction about everything that's important to you that happens in a garden, including how your body feels. Because now that I am GardenFit, I go into that garden knowing that I'm not going to stress my body, and the whole experience by the end of the day is pretty euphoric.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, let me ask you this in terms of like staying in shape and doing all these things. What about warming up before you actually start gardening, stretching, otherwise? Any suggestions for those people, all of us for that matter, before we begin that exercise program gardening? What can we do?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just a simple warm-up program. It doesn't have to be extensive. It doesn't have to last more than 3 or 4 minutes, really. Just, you're going to, I walked it back a little while ago. The hands are connected to the wrist connected to the arms connected to the shoulder, and the shoulders connected to the body. So everything bases off your body. So think about, start from the center, start from your body. Warm your body up a little bit, your back and your chest and your abdominals. Just do a little twisting. Just go outside and just kind of let your body twist one side to the other. Look to the left, look to the right. You can be making your plans for the day doing that. And then take one arm and just kind of reach around, reach up, reach behind you. Make a full circle with that arm 3 or 4 times. Take the other arm.
Hey, Jeff, got to interrupt you real quick.
Out in front of.
Going to take a break there, Jeff. Hold on one second. We're going to get back to that. Running a little late because I'm getting so involved in this, and I got to keep my eye on the clock here for the network show. Hey, Jeff, Madeline, get it. We're going to take a quick break. Running late, but as they say, sounding great. Back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. Stay with us. Okay, we have made it to the final segment, hour number 1 on Biz Talk Radio. Facebook Live, we don't adhere to hours or times. We keep on rolling. So welcome back to the show. Those watching on Facebook Live and those on Biz Talk Radio. Again, we apologize. We had to interrupt Jeff. He gets going, and I'm so enthralled in listening to what he has to say, I've got to keep my eye on the clock. So our apologies to Jeff, but we were talking about Tiger warming up, stretching, and doing all those things before jumping into the garden.
Yeah, sorry about that, Jeff. Brian operates in, if you're a Spider-Man fan, he operates in another multiverse over here where he doesn't acknowledge time or dates. But, before we went to the break, you were talking about, when you do warm up,
right.
Start with the core of the body, twisting, and then kind of move outwards with your limbs as well. And you said, it doesn't require more than a few minutes, but it is something that I think is really important for people to do, right? I mean, you can't just hop out of bed and then just start, moving bags of bark around, right?
Well, I'm going to say something sexist here. I'm a guy, and guys just don't want to stretch, and they don't want to warm up. They want to get it done.
Yeah.
And, and I don't like to read the directions either. I'll just put something together, and I'll pull it apart and put it together again if I have to read the directions.
And have 15 screws left.
I think that's how a lot of people are when they're getting ready to go out to the garden or do something. They just want to get at it. And it's important to take the time to stretch and warm up. And so if you tell yourself you have to stop and stretch and warm up, you won't do it. You're like, I don't want to. So the best way to go about it is what I was just talking about, is just you don't have to stop what you're doing. Just look around. Start. Your brain and your eyes can be thinking about what you're getting ready to do. And while you're plotting and planning your day's events and all the tasks at hand, you can be twisting your body and taking your arms around in little circles and going down into a squat and just bending your shoulders, your elbows, your knees, your hips, and twisting your body. It might take 2 or 3 minutes while you're thinking about what you're going to do, and you got it done, and you didn't have to stop. So it's a good mindset. The one thing I've learned as a trainer is to try to get people to do something without thinking that it has to be hard work or they have to do something they don't want to do. So you can approach warming up that way, and you'll develop the habit of doing it. You'll like doing it, and you'll also it actually helps you plan your day out better.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things we have here in San Diego that is, I'm sure, a little bit of a challenge for you guys back east is, our gardening season is all year, 365.
Yeah.
I mean, we might take a day off here or there because of some rain or cold weather. But for you back in New York, you guys have forced hibernation for periods of time. So, Madeline, what are some things that maybe you recommend for people? Because I mean, as a gardener, you have your catalog season when you're in the winter where you're thinking about your garden, you're planning your garden, you're looking at what seeds you want to buy, you're looking at what bulbs you want to buy and getting that ready for when it's time. But then it's almost like you've been doing nothing for these months, and then now you want to go. You're so excited,
How
right?
do you stay in shape?
Yeah. What are some off-season tips that you saw?
I think it depends on how much you like to keep your body physically active. I love to play tennis, so if I can't play outside, I play indoors. I probably Jeff has definitely influenced me, and I love going to the gym. I mean, I think I'm very fortunate because Jeff, and I work out, and I get the benefit of all of his knowledge. But I feel like I want to keep my body active and healthy, period, all the time. The gardening just comes on top of that, and the GardenFit fixes that Jeff gives people in the show and knows how to share with us gardeners makes you feel even better about your skill for gardening and the lack of aches and pains that you'll create. But I just think that most people probably want to feel good all the time. And I just love keeping my body active.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so that's just personal.
I'm going to add something else to that occurred to me while you were answering that. And a lot of the fixes, in fact, all of the fixes we give on GardenFit, they can be incorporated into other things besides gardening.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not gardening for the 6 months a year that we have nothing but 10 degrees of snow here, you're still squatting, you're still kneeling down, you're still twisting, you're still picking things up. Whether you're working in your basement, your attic, or just cleaning your house, or carrying the groceries in, or taking the laundry upstairs. It's all the same movement. So everything you learn on GardenFit from my fixes I help these people with can be universally used with anything that you're doing.
Definitely. And I was going to say that because I have watched a few of the episodes, and one of the things I was going to comment on is that the fixes, as you call them, Jeff, that you've addressed with people and their physical abilities or their physical restrictions, they are, I definitely want our listeners to know, they should watch these episodes because there is really something for everyone in the sense of, they might think, I only have a patio. And my elbow hurts, but I'm sure they don't address anything like that. I'm sure they're talking to someone on some farm or something like that. And, they're going to tell me something that doesn't associate with me. And no, the fixes that you talk about on the program, I think can not just associate with the gardening, but everyday life. And it makes people think about their life and their choices and what they're doing and, possible changes that they can make to make their lifestyle better by helping their body. And, the show itself, the premise of the show, Jeff, I don't know if you can kind of maybe give us a little bit of a tease. How much time do we have, Brian, before our next
We've
break?
got about a minute and a half.
Okay, I just want to make sure we don't cut off Jeff again. But you got about a minute or so just to giving you a heads up.
Let's say 1 minute at the most, yeah.
The show, how do you format the show? I mean, you go to someone, you see their garden, you talk to them. can you tell us
You
a
know
little
what?
bit
You
about?
know what, Jeff? Let's hold this to the other
Okay.
side of the break because Jeff, I know, has got a lot to say
Okay.
about this, Jeff. So hang in there, Jeff,
But-
because we have to stay in time for our network friends at Biz Talk Radio. If this was just Facebook with no commercials,
easy.
we'd go on and on.
Yeah.
So what we're going to
But-
do, and again, we appreciate your patience, both Jeff and Madeline. Tiger and I are going to take a quick break for the network because we're coming to the top of the hour for the network with news coming up. And then hour 2 on Biz Talk Radio, 6 minutes after, we come right back again. Hopefully you can stay with us on Biz Talk Radio. Your market carries both hours, we hope, 1 and 2. And Jeff and Madeline, we're going to come back very soon here. Just a quick break here on Facebook Live as we continue. And Tiger, you can reiterate that, the question to set things up on the other side. So do stay with us. It is Brian Main, Tiger Palafox. John is busy with the California Coastal Road Society auction. We're going to take a break, coming back after news, messages on Biz Talk Radio, even quicker right here on Facebook Live. Stay with us. All righty, those on Biz Talk Radio. It is 6 minutes after the hour. Thank you for joining us. If you're just catching up, we're talking about staying fit in the garden, exercising, stretching, what you can do. Those that have been following us since the first hour, we thank you. You know what's happening. We're going to rejoin Jeff and Madeline here on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live, broadcasting from the iHeartMedia studios in San Diego, California.
Yeah, so this morning we're chatting with Jeff Hughes and Madeline Hooper from the co-hosts of the program GardenFit on PBS. And before the break, Jeff, I was asking you to kind of just give our listeners the outline of your program as far as, you know, what people can expect when they're watching one of your episodes, as far as how you guys introduce it, you know, talk about it, and then kind of go from there.
Well, there's so much to say. I'm glad you waited till after the news break.
You got a good 10 minutes here, Jeff, so go right ahead.
Well, you know, the format of the show is really fun. We have this car ride at the beginning of every show. And we developed it to kind of show how we get along, because we're just a couple knuckleheads having a good time and going to visit a gardener. And but it's always funny. Madeline has this bag. We call it the Mary Poppins bag, and she pulls out visuals of where we're going, and she's telling me all about where we're going while I'm driving. And it was designed to show a little banter and fun stuff with us, and to also basically set the show up. So the viewers are getting what she's telling me, and they learn all about the gardener and where we're going and who they are and some background and so forth. And then when we get there, we have a chance to meet the gardener. A lot of times Madeline's always met them or already knows them.
Right. And then, so at that point, we really asked them what inspired them, how they created that particular garden, because as you said earlier, each place we visited had such unique styles and such different types of gardens and in different climates to garden in. So that was kind of very interesting. And they would take us and walk us through their garden and really share so many interesting ideas of why they made these choices or how they look after their plants. Everybody was so involved with habitat and making sure that they shared how important keeping everything alive in a garden was. And while we're doing that, Jeff's watching and really seeing how they move and what they're talking about in terms of how they maintain their garden.
Yeah, so again, it's just information gathering. It's while you're watching the show and the gardener is giving all their information, I'm watching what they do as well, and I'm watching what tools they use, and I'm also doing what I've done for years as a trainer. I'm watching how they walk. Do they limp? Do they turn their foot out? Do they do this or that or the other thing? And I'm developing a little mental list of what I think might be their issues, as well as understanding their environment that may be causing their issues. And then we get to a point where I sit down. We have a nice, intimate time, just myself and the gardener or gardeners. And I don't tell them what I think is wrong first. I ask them, tell me what your aches and pains are. And I think about 9.9% of the time it aligns with everything I observed. And so then from there, I can start to explain to them what they're doing to cause the problems they're having. So in other words, I'm not a surgeon. I don't actually fix them. What I do generally is I help them learn how to do something to stop causing the problem. And I know what's causing it by observing them and seeing, what it was, what they were doing. So it's real easy to understand a problem if you understand what causes it. It's really easy to fix the problem by stop causing it. So I take a little bit of my expertise and give them a different way to do a certain task, or if there isn't a different way, maybe some therapy that they can add in to alleviate what they used after they've done the task. And then we have this wonderful time where we shake hands.
Right. So Jeff is really good. I mean, he really gives them a habit, and he makes them promise that they're going to practice all the things that he shared with them until we come back 4 weeks later. And then we're off to the gym. And that's a nice opportunity for us to reiterate, for Jeff to reiterate what he has shown them and probably expand it a little bit.
Yeah, that's a nice section in the GardenFit show where we get off the farm, and Madeline and I are in the gym, and we're in our gym clothes, and we're talking. We reiterate a little bit about what I taught the gardener to do and what their problem was, and then a lot of times we can expand on that, branch out to some other issues that are similar or so forth, and give the viewer something even more to understand how to take care of their body with. And then after that gym segment is gone, we actually returned. Yeah, we went back. We returned to each one of these gardens really, honestly, 4 weeks later. And we gave them 4 weeks to take what I taught them and do it, and actually turn it into a habit. Once you've done something for a while, 4 weeks is a good time period, your body starts to accept it as a habit. And that was the wonderful thing when we came back.
Yeah, so when we came back, the first thing that was on everybody's lips, they couldn't wait to tell Jeff how much this has helped them. Yeah. And I really, to a person, I think we were overwhelmed with not only how they listened and absorbed the reasoning behind what Jeff asked them to do, but they had developed a new habit, and one that we know now, since it's been months since we completed the show, they're still doing it. We're in touch with all of our guest gardeners, and it's very rewarding. And I think Jeff's, very concise, common sense fixes really gave them something to incorporate in their entire lifestyle, as he was saying before, and everything that they do. In
fact, some of them even it was really heartwarming. Some even passed it forward to people that they work with, and so forth. And so it was really, I felt wonderful about that. It's really helping people.
So once they really share with us, and it's an exciting moment in the show of how much better they feel with their garden fix, we always ask what's new in the garden, and we kind of walk through their area or end up at a place where they get a chance to teach us something. And whether we're cooking with a wonderful vegetable farmer or learning how to make tea from the herbs that they collect, or we did such fun things in terms of making sorbet out of prickly pears from a garden in Texas. That's really kind of an interesting experience. Something you would never think you could eat turned out to be so delicious. So it's really fun. Sometimes they're garden fixes. Sometimes we just dance with them. We just celebrate having had such a wonderful time together. And that's sort of how we end the show.
Yeah, and they are fun shows to watch. One of my favorite shows, and I think it's just because it kind of mimics a little bit my style of gardening, but then at the same time enhances the overwhelming effect that a gardening can have, is episode number 4, where it's Welcome to the Jungle. But
Raymond.
Yeah. But I do want to mention to our listeners again, these shows air on PBS, but you can also stream them on pbs.org. And your guys' website is gardenfit.fit. So it's an easy website to be able to get to, gardenfit.fit, where they can get more information about Madeline and Jeff and the program itself. And as you mentioned, all these episodes just show so much different variety. It really helps, I think, gardeners understand, all what's out there. So thank you guys very much for joining us this weekend. Lots of great info. Again, gardenfit.fit is a great way to be able to follow Madeline and Jeff along their journey. And you guys have how many episodes still to come out?
Well, I think they just showed 6.
Yes.
I think we've done 13 in all, so I'm pretty sure we're almost halfway cooked.
Perfect. Good. Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much. Good luck to everything. We will continue to follow you guys, and maybe maybe when episode 13 comes out, we can have you guys back on the program.
We'd love to. This has been really fun, Tiger. Thank you so much
Great.
for
Thank
having
you
us.
guys so much.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Madeline.
take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Jeff. Do appreciate it. Now, she reached out to him originally. Is that how they crossed paths?
That's how they cross paths.
Yeah, she reached out.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So, and I mean, she talks about how he changed her life, being able to kind of correct some of her physical restraints when it comes to gardening.
We talked about the fact that this is how you get in shape to garden, the do's and don'ts and how to get in shape, but then you brought up a good point that, once you're in shape to garden, you're liable to be in shape for other things that you're going to be doing in life. It's not just for, that may be your motivation. Garden may be your motivation, but, once you're in shape and you're doing all these things, you'll be surprised how easy other things come as you travel through this reality we call life, Tiger.
Well, and I think one of the big premises of it is just making sure you enjoy it.
Right. Hey, we're going to take a break. Thank you. Hey, questions, comments. John is off today. Tiger and I are here. We can talk more about this or anything else on your mind. Welcome to Garden America, those on Biz Talk Radio, those faithful watchers, listeners on Facebook Live. We appreciate it. Back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. Okay, we have returned, and again, thank you so much. I want to thank Madeline and Jeff, thank you very much for being our guest today here on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live, Garden America. And again, we better put these things into practices, Tiger, when we go home and start, because I've got a lot to do this weekend. I'm not sure whether it's going to be today, probably tomorrow, but again, keeping in mind, because a lot of people have, chronic problems anyway, chronic back problems, aches and pains that are not necessarily going to go away, but there are ways to maybe mitigate those aches and pains and do things that will not aggravate what you already have.
Right. And, Jeff had mentioned how everything is connected. And, these aches and pains aren't always associated with gardening. You could have had them developed from years of your other work.
Right.
And now when you garden, it flares it up. So.
And it's very important to remember this, that when we're young, we're very active. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of things. Whether you used to ski, whether you used to, surf, whatever you did, and you felt great. And now you get a little older in life, and these aches and pains begin to flare up, and you're wondering, well, I didn't do anything recently to cause this. Why is it? It's a delayed reaction as you get older that these things creep up on you. And so be very aware of that it may not necessarily be something you did the past week, 2 weeks, a month, or year. It might be with you. We can't get rid of all the aches and pains, but we can live a life that delicately pursues a lifestyle that you don't aggravate those injuries further.
One of the things I've seen in my life, and by no means am I an expert in life, but, gardening helps people stay active.
Yes, it does.
So I think it's very important that if you are a gardener or if you have a garden, that you don't overwhelm yourself, because that will make it very easy for you to shut down, in the sense of if you hurt yourself and you can't garden anymore, it's easy for you to be like, well, I'm going to stop. And then you just don't ever really start back up again.
And that's the same thing as if you plant something and it dies. You say, well, I'm not going to garden anymore because the plant that I planted died. No,
exactly.
You keep going.
No, you keep going. And so if you can make it where you can go out once a week, a few times a week, whatever it may be, staying active keeps you young. The quote of the week, quote of the week was talking about how gardening keeps you mentally young, mentally fit, but it also keeps you physically young and physically fit.
Sure.
If you get out there and you do things on a regular basis, then you're going to always be able to do it. But if you stop, it's going to be harder. And as you get older, it's so much harder to start up again, right?
Right. Somebody earlier during that segment when we were talking with Jeff and Madeline said, avoid the easy chair as much as possible. It's very easy to get into that sedimentary way of life.
Yeah.
It's comfortable, but so much
getting
easier.
out of it.
Yeah, because when you're young, it's really easy to stay active and do these things. And then you go, I've lived a little bit. I don't want to do this or do that. So this all encompasses more than just gardening, obviously.
Yeah, it does. So, lots of good stuff out there. Again, GardenFit.fit
Right.
is a great way to keep in touch with them and what they're doing, and watch the episodes on PBS. Look for them airing locally, or you can just stream them online anytime you want.
You know, we should have set up a little phone segment with John.
Yeah.
We were remiss. We could have had him call in and,
Yeah.
and give us an update on the rose auction.
That's true.
Which is now the auction this weekend.
It's El Cajon right now.
Right. And a lot is going on. I know that you and I have been a part of that, for many years. Unfortunately, this time we couldn't be, but that's where John is. He's busy, and, he loves this. This is
his
one
thing.
time of the year. This
Yeah.
is his baby. That's why all the roses he grows, and people
Yep.
come out, 6 weeks, 7 weeks before the actual auction to do all the trimming. Because they do say if you're going to show a rose, if you're going to enter a rose in a contest, 6 weeks is that time period there before the actual event.
I bet you, the people, the competition rose people's gardens right now, because you don't just grow one rose on a plant
no.
and then trim it and then bring it in for the competition. You have multiple plants, multiple roses on those plants, and they all look spectacular. But you
Right.
just pick the best one.
Right, exactly. That's why, I sent a picture to John this past week, and he put it in the newsletter of my Laura Bush rose, which, wow, it looks so good. And I'm thinking, wow, these petals are nice, and a real judge would look at that,
Yeah.
much like a dog show.
Oh, yeah.
where they look at the dog, and, well, this is good there. The fur's not quite right. And in a rose, you look at the petals, you look at the leaves.
Yep.
There's all these various things that go along with it. So, yeah, a lot goes into it, and it's something to be very proud of.
Yeah, definitely. And they're having it out there in El Cajon this
Right.
year, so a lot of fun. If you have a chance, get out there. You get out there right
now.
now.
You can go to the website with all California Coastal Rose Society. Is
It is
.com or .org?
CC. Where am I at? CCRSauction.com.
.com.
CCRS
So you go there, they'll
auction.com.
give you the information, how you can bid, the address if you live in San Diego, where to go, and everything is right there, and that's where John is this weekend.
Yeah. So, yeah, fun stuff out there.
Let's see. Keep ice handy. This is from Rick. Keep ice handy. An easy way to use ice is to take a styrofoam coffee-sized cup and fill it with water. Freeze it. When you need it, cut the top off, leaving enough on the end for a handle. Inflammation is what causes most pain. Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Rick.
And Jeff had hit it. I think that most males out there, no stretching, no warming up, no aftercare.
We just jump in.
Yeah, and afterwards we just want to be done. We don't
Yeah.
want to, So, that is one thing I think that we have to work on, is that, warming up and then cooling down are very important things for your body as you get older, to keep doing it on a regular basis.
Can you imagine a pitcher coming into a baseball game and not warming up?
Oh gosh.
And just starting to throw balls?
90-mile-an-hour fastballs and just cold.
Wouldn't last more than one or two hitters.
No.
And that's why they do it.
Yeah.
Stretching and bending and doing all those things. Because the less you do it, the more tired things get. Tighter.
Yeah.
You become tired, they become tighter.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, warming up and then cooling down are equally important when it comes to the physical tasks at hand.
One of my best friends from high school saw my Laura Bush rose in the newsletter.
Ah.
Beautiful, isn't it? Fragrant. There's a little bit of fragrance. Just
That's
a
more
little
of
bit.
that's more of a look of the
Look of it.
rose.
But you know what's
rose.
interesting when it comes to animals? Now, you may have a rose that's very obvious with the fragrance that we can all smell.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are some where you're not sure. You think, I think I can smell something. You put that same rose in front of the nose of a cat or a dog, they can smell.
Yeah.
They'll smell what we don't.
Oh yeah. Oh
And,
yeah.
and it's very interesting because I always do that to the cats. You want to smell this? Does that smell good
What
to
do
you?
they do? What do they do?
Oh, they put their nose in it. They're very
Do
interesting.
they not like it, or do they kind of just sniff it? And
I
then
think they sniff it.
indifferent?
They get an idea of what it is, and it depends how long. Sometimes they like sniff it for a long time, like they're really digging it. They like it. Other times a quick sniff, and like that's fine. I've had enough. I know what it is.
Because it's interesting, because a lot of the very fragrant plants, and I don't know if this has to do with the fragrance or maybe the taste, but they say, rabbits, deer, critters, they stay away from fragrant plants. Now, I know that's not the same for roses, because deer and roses, they eat the
certain
foliage.
They love deer, love it.
But lavenders, rosemaries, thymes, oreganos, those very
I got to
high
cut you
fragrance.
off. How about that?
All right.
Instead of cutting Larry off,
Jeff.
Jeff, I'm sorry. Where did Larry come? Jeff, sorry about that, Jeff, if you're still listening. Had to cut off Jeff a few times this morning. Got to stay on time for the network.
All right.
Back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. We are back on the Garden America show. It is Brian Main, yours truly. That's Tiger Palafox. John Busy at the California Coastal Rose Society yearly auction, usually in November, this year happening in May, which makes a little more sense in the middle of springtime because a lot of times in November, we don't have the roses in bloom yet. They haven't budded, if that's a term or a word I can use. And so what they do during the slideshow is show you what the rose will look like. In this case, since it's May, a lot of those roses have bloomed. That's a better word, bloomed, and you can actually see what the rose looks like in full bloom instead of just imagining. So a lot of people with us this morning. We do appreciate that. Any questions, comments? It is springtime. In most areas of the country now, we've got Mother's Day coming up, May, which means for a lot of people in cold weather, hey, you can get out there and start gardening. Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. Exactly. And we will be live on location at Mission Hills Nursery next week for the garden walk. The Mission Hills Garden
The
Walk.
garden walk is next weekend. We'll be live on site,
Yep.
as you mentioned. So those watching us right now on Facebook Live, we're going to be, like I said, on location like we did about, a month or so ago from Mission
Yep.
Hills Nursery.
Mhm.
So what is that garden walk? What does that mean for those that have never heard about a garden walk?
Yeah, so, and the reason why I wanted to mention this too, one of our listeners also posted that the Mary Lou Hurd Tour is this weekend through the Orange County
That's
area.
right.
So it
Yeah.
is garden walk season, garden tour season, where basically, locally, hopefully in your region, wherever you're at, they do have these where they give you an opportunity to go and tour people's private homes.
Oh, you just don't walk in unannounced?
Yeah, why not, right? Just get to be able to go in people's backyards, poke around their garden, have some fun.
Stomp on everything?
So a garden walk, garden tour is an opportunity to go and visit usually a private home where you can tour the garden, see what they've done with the space that they have, see the plants that they've collected through the years and how they've put them together. It's a great way to get some inspiration or ideas for your own garden. Mm-hmm. But if you're doing it locally, you know that those plants work. I mean, one of the worst things about gardening is seeing inspiration, but being like, oh, that's in New York or that's in Colorado or in somewhere where you're not, and it'll never work for you. But if you locally can go and visit an area, and then the other thing too is, magazines and TV shows, they're pretty well set up. The shot is perfect.
Oh, of course.
And the coloration is perfect and everything else. But actually seeing it in real life gives you that different perspective about what you can do with your own garden.
Right. So that's going to be fun. We'll be there at Mission Hills Nursery. Are we going to set up in the same area we did last time, or what do you have in mind?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe the same area or a little bit different. I think maybe I'm going to shadow us a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because we were in the sun last time, and it was a challenge.
Right. I mean, we had good lighting, but it was a challenge for us.
Exactly.
It was, sunglasses all the way.
Yeah. And I just want to let people know, if you're in San Diego and you want to go, they are sold out currently. They might have some day of tickets that you could purchase. But, it's a great opportunity no matter what. If look for a garden tour in your region, because right now is the time of year when they're happening, as mentioned.
Right. We're everything's waking up. It's springtime.
The jacarandas are blooming.
The jacaranda. Hey, as long as that's happening, we know things are good, right?
Yep, exactly.
That's the first thing you mentioned this morning.
Yeah, that purple flowering tree. I mean, that everybody when you work at a nursery in San Diego, it doesn't fail that during this time of year people come in and go, hey, there's this purple flowering tree. I don't know what it is. Oh, jacaranda.
It's a jacaranda.
They're everywhere. They're all in bloom.
Right. Yeah, without even them finishing their comment or their question. It's a jacaranda.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, when's the last time you had jicama?
Like to eat?
Yeah, or just been around it or whatever.
It's been a while.
I was doing a spot this week for the Rancho Coastal Humane Society, which I do every week, because there's always a dog or a cat of the week.
Okay.
That people can adopt. So I saw this word and I thought, that looks like jicama. Is that the dog's name? So I had to reach out to somebody to verify. They go, yeah, it's like jicama, like what you eat. I went, oh, the dog's name is jicama.
Oh.
It's a border collie.
Yeah.
3.5 years old, very active. What else can I
And
remember?
they named it
They
Jicama?
named it Jicama, but with the adoption fee, you get 3 training sessions. You get virtual training sessions. You get a leash. You get like a package, all these treats and stuff ready to
Wow.
go, which is not normal. But I thought, wow, border collie, all this. So I'm sure that dog's going to get adopted pretty quick.
Yeah,
the
I'm
dog's
sure.
name is Jicama. If you're in San Diego, Rancho Costa Humane Society, doing our part to help the animals.
You know, I'm wondering what's happening with that. I don't know if you're in touch with them much, but I know during COVID, they almost ran out of pets because so many people were adopting, right?
They were staying home. They wanted some
yeah.
companions.
Okay. I'm wondering, you know how they talk about after Christmas, they get a lot of returns?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For
because
whatever
people
reason,
get the pet and then it doesn't work out for whatever
too
reason.
active for us, or he clawed up the
Yeah.
furniture, whatever, or the cat, the dog, whatever. Yeah.
I'm wondering if they saw that after COVID. If after COVID people are like, it wasn't what I really wanted anymore or something like that. I wonder if they have a large amount of inventory of adoptable pets.
They seem to, because every week I'm talking about a different dog or a cat.
Yeah.
So I think that they're doing pretty good as well as adopting. So Kevin in Idaho says jacarandas are great in somebody else's yard, but very messy in your own yard.
Oh, with great flowers comes great mess.
Yeah,
No
you
matter
can-
what.
It depends on what you're willing to put up with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
If something has a
exactly.
great fragrance or there's something about it you like, yeah, you put up with a little mess.
In the messes, that's the thing, right? So when it comes to trees, people say, "Oh, I want an evergreen tree because I don't want a mess." I'm like, okay, no, you want a mess all year long for an evergreen tree because
Yeah.
it's always dropping. At least with a deciduous tree, it drops all its leaves in a month. You clean them up, and then you're done.
Yeah, you know, until next year.
In the jacaranda and these flowering trees, they bloom for a month. You have a lot of flowers to pick up and debris to pick up, but then it's done. And jacarandas are actually, somewhat clean trees because their leaves are very small too, so you
Right.
don't have this huge mess.
And it's part of yard work.
right.
It's part
It's-
of
it's
bending
part of-
and exercising.
It's part of your training.
Part of your training.
Start a garden that's designed to keep you physically fit. Every month there's a thing to do.
Absolutely. So what projects are you and your team working on this upcoming week? Are you starting something new? Are you in the middle of something? What's going on?
We are starting a few new ones. We're doing some plantings, some different projects, mostly just plantings, nothing real big. But then we also have our ongoing projects of actually maintaining people's yards. And right now is a tough time of year because of all the weeds growing.
Right. So there's new projects. There's also maintenance.
Yes.
Much like I
Exactly.
have a maintenance program for my aquarium. Ongoing maintenance.
Ongoing. It's
Not starting a new
always
tank.
something, right?
We're just maintaining it.
Even though you have all of that filtering equipment, all of the abilities, you still have to maintain it. And that's the same for people's yards, right?
Well, yeah, especially because now we're kind of getting off topic, but we have one of our fish. It's a Pletko, and he's decided now the last couple of months to start digging. We have sand in the bottom of the aquarium. It's not gravel. So what he's doing is when he's digging, just like a dog would dig on sand
Yeah.
or whatever. So he's digging with his little nose, his little flippers, and he's trying to dig these little holes. Or these little, I call them little caves or pathways.
Uh-huh.
What he's doing is kicking up sand in the aquarium.
And it makes
Well,
it murky?
No, the sand gets into the filtration system.
Ah.
So once a month, when they come out to clean the filters, this last time they took a cup of sand out of the filtration system.
Whoa.
So
Cup.
because what I used to do is when he would dig these holes, I'd fix it up again, flatten the sand out, and he would just do it every single day. So what I did is I put these rocks in front of this coral reef that I have because that's where he was digging. I said, "You're not going to dig anymore." So he's gone to the back of the coral to dig, and I'm like, "Okay, you can do it back behind the coral." And then he stopped digging. Once he dug, he's not digging every day. So I figure, okay, the sand's no longer going to be a problem
Yeah.
going into the filter. So that's where I have him now, is in the back with his little caves and his little holes, and he's happy.
Yeah, that's so funny. I mean, it is just like a garden where you have a pet that's just digging, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you just got to give them that area because if you keep trying to refill it, they're just going to do it over again. It's going to get more and more
I mean, the
frustrating.
water gets a little, not murky, but because it's a good filtration system, within about 20 minutes, it's crystal clear. But it's just the sand going into the system because he's kicking it all up.
Yeah.
We got about a minute to the next break, and then we have one more segment, Tiger.
Wow.
I think we're caught up on the questions.
Yeah. So people in Southern California and the West, planting vegetables is full on happening.
Yeah, it's
right
happening now. This is the
Yeah.
time to do it.
This is the time to do it.
Hey, what's
you know?
in your veggie pod, by the way? You still using it?
Yeah, strawberries and mint. I'm going on year 2 or
Are you
so.
going to bring in strawberries for us to try?
I haven't gotten good production on it. I don't know.
That's the reason I asked, because it's like they don't look like store-bought strawberries.
Yeah, I mean, so I haven't gotten good production on it. I'm going to work on that a little bit this weekend. But you know, I've got some tomatoes going. I've got tomatoes in. I've got
Tomatoes
peppers
are easy
in.
to grow, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to try to. I got to try to get a melon out there as well. You know, and then a Persian cucumber. You know, and then all the herbs.
We're going to take a break. You mind if I interrupt you
Okay,
again?
fine, sure.
Had to
Whatever.
interrupt Jeff all morning. Now it's Tiger. We have one more segment for those on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. Questions, comments, still some time. John's at the Rose Show. Myself, Brian Main, Tiger Palafox. We're here on Garden America. How about that Facebook Live? That was the quickest break in media history, all of 3 seconds. Those on Biz
No
Talk
ads.
Radio, a bit longer because of our great supporters and all the people who buy time on Biz Talk Radio supporting our show. So this is it, Tiger. We got about 7 minutes until we say goodbye for the next week, until next week, which is a live broadcast next week at Mission Hills Nursery.
Yeah, and you know, it'll be Mother's Day weekend, so a lot to cover in terms of, you know, that is like the starting gate for all of the East Coast gardeners.
And they're off and running.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm not from the East Coast. I've never lived there for any period of time. But I was, you know, when we were talking with Madeline and Jeff, and they are in New York, they are just going straight from 0 to 60
Yeah.
in one weekend.
Right.
Because they have to plant so much stuff. They have to do so many tasks in such a short period of time to be successful. Where, you know, I mean, if, you know, Brian, you get home and you're like, oh, I'm going to prune my roses today. And you're like, you know what? I'd rather go and do this.
Yeah.
I'll do it next week.
I can wait till you're right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's you know, bad weather gardening, you know, snow, all that is a whole different topic and story. Like you said, we garden all year round.
Yeah.
What I don't get to today, I'll get to next month.
Right. But it is good to have a plan and a calendar
Yeah,
for
you
yourself.
should.
Because that does help keep on task and not let things get overwhelming, I would say. You know,
Right.
As we talk about gardening being fun, being enjoyable, you don't want it to be overwhelming.
Somebody's wishing John good luck. Hope that, let's see, Kevin says, hope he can break the record for the most expensive rose bid this year. Well, last year, what was it? Do you recall? Like $300-$400?
Yeah, I was gonna say
maybe $500 for a rose.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I think it was like $300 or $400. Yeah.
You know, I remember one year when we auctioned off Abracadabra and Simsalabim. We got $350. We thought, wow, $350, which I have a Simsalabim in my garden right now.
So, and for those of you listening that maybe aren't familiar with the auction, the reason why John does these rose auctions is because these are not
Save the roses is what it is.
These are not roses that are highly available.
No,
some of them they're one ofs. Some of them
they're rare and
just
exotic
very
roses.
Rare.
They usually have a story behind them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like your Peggy Martin.
Peggy Martin,
right here.
Yeah, and the orange juice is just not in production anymore. So, you know, what they're trying to do is just preserve the heritage of roses.
Right,
because,
right.
as you mentioned, you know, they have the story. So, I mean, for Peggy Martin, if that rose just goes away one day, the story of this rose that survived after the Hurricane Katrina under 12 feet of salt
12
water
feet of salt water
in this woman's yard, that story is gone with that rose. And
that's a tenacious rose. You know, for somebody that's a little, you know, afraid of growing roses, I think this is a rose that you can plant it and basically give it a little care, but leave it alone.
Yeah.
It'll do quite fine. Thank you.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, you know, these are not just a rose you can find at your local garden center.
You're not going to go down to Home Depot and find most
No.
of these roses.
Never.
So there's a story behind these roses. You know, they want to save these roses. So it's a really good it's a good thing they do every year with this auction.
And also the funds go to other rose gardens throughout
Right.
the country where, you know, they are preserving these roses up in San Jose, here in San Diego, San Francisco. I'm trying to think of where the other ones John's mentioned. They have rose gardens where they plant these, and people can tour them, people can visit them, and they see the plants. But, you know, I mean, as we know, just like any garden, it takes money and time and effort to maintain these gardens.
Right. And this is you know, as soon as this auction is over, they start to plan for next year already.
Sure, they already planned.
You know, it's like, okay, here we go, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, somebody a long time ago reminded me, and this is true for like a lot of bridges that you see around the country. Here in San Diego, we have the Coronado Bridge.
Yeah.
They have the Golden Gate in San Francisco. They are always painting it
Yeah.
because by the time they're finished painting it, they got to start over again because of the sea, the salt water, all of that, the wind, the rain, the weather conditions. It's a constant process. So with the Rose Society, the point being is it's a constant process for them year after year as well.
Yeah, definitely. So, again, ccrsauction.com is the website. The California Coastal Rose Society is
right.
the organization. If you're interested in roses, how to grow them, how to preserve them, how to maintain them, lots of good information there.
Now, are we going to be able next week, are we going to have a camera or one of our phones? Are we going to be walking around? We're not going to be able to really see the garden walk. We're just there kind
Not the
of talking
garden
about
walk. We'll just be at the nursery.
We'll be at the nursery.
Yeah, but
talking about it because it's in Mission Hills, right?
yes, yeah. And the big difference as far as the garden walk versus mini garden tours out there is it's truly walkable.
Right, you're walking.
Meaning, it's through a neighborhood and you can walk it and you can enjoy it. Some people drive it, some people walk it, depending on your ability. But this is not one that requires you to drive. The Mary Lou Hurd one that was mentioned earlier
Right.
is the Orange County based one, and you have to get in a car and drive from garden to garden.
This is a walk.
Yeah, this is a walk.
So next week it'll be live on location at Mission Hills Nursery. It's funny, when we do these remotes, a lot of times people are a little hesitant to ask questions or get as involved as when we're in studio. But we're going to have Facebook up,
Yeah.
Facebook Live. So, questions, comments, maybe you'll see something in the nursery.
Yeah.
You want to ask about it? Yeah, feel free.
Yeah, and
That's-
we will.
That's one reason why we're there.
And we'll be able to share more because we'll be in
Right.
the nursery. Last time we had a whole show and tell portion where we got to share a lot of the
Now,
plants.
did we follow somebody around with a phone? Did we actually take the phone around?
We
with
moved the
video?
camera around.
We did
yeah,
move the
and
camera
we brought
around,
plants
yeah.
into the screen.
Right.
And we'll probably have somebody join us during the program, next week to talk about whether it's the organization or the tour. So yeah, great way to interact and kind of just see what's happening. And being springtime, like I'm mentioning, there's just so much going on.
It's going to be, and maybe not quite as cold as it was last time. Maybe it was pretty cold last time when we were there, but what the heck? You bring a jacket. It'll be
No,
nice.
it won't be.
Is the nursery look the same, or do you move things around as?
Always evolving. Always evolving.
always.
Yeah, always changing. Always. As we're talking, we're always bringing in new things, and then there are always things that are going out.
Out with the old, in with the new. That said, that's going to wrap up this show. It's been fun. Tiger, thanks for doing what you do every week. John with the Rose Show. We're going to be back together, all three of us, next week, live remote from Mission Hills Nursery, right here in San Diego, California. Weather should be nice. We hope you'll tune in and join us. Those on Biz Talk Radio, we hope you'll be listening with a delayed show. But again, a reminder for those that do listen on Biz Talk Radio, you can always go to our Facebook page every week. That's Garden America Radio Show on Facebook. We kick off our show 8:06 on the West Coast, 11:06 Eastern Time Zone. Watch us live, interact, ask questions, because we are worldwide. People all over the world now asking questions, getting involved, and being part of the show. For the entire crew, I'm Brian Main. For John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a great week. We'll do it again next week live at Mission Hills Nursery right here on Garden America. Take care.